On this edition of Leading Africa, Malawi President Peter Mutharika.
Eradication of extreme poverty. We will not be able to do it. That I'll be happy the day somebody has more money in their pocket than they have now.
Malawi's economic growth is set to be hampered by what's been deemed the worst floods in the country's history. At least 170 people are feared dead, while more than 200,000 have fled their homes. The IMF forecast the economy to grow at 6.2%, despite operating on a zero-aid national budget. Since 2013, Malawi's traditional donors have been withholding around $150 million in aid, following reports that government officials looted $50 million from public coffers during Joyce Banda's administration.
Well, the zero-aid budget really is not so much a zero-aid budget. It's the budgetary support that we usually get from countries that is not in the budget anymore. And therefore, really, it should be the zero budgetary support budget. We have a budget there now, and the IMF and ourselves are going to sit down to examine that and see how workable it will be.
A budget of $1.8 billion was passed last year, leaving a $414 million deficit. Government is now working with the International Monetary Fund to help bankroll the shortfall. Prior to the Cashgate scandal, Malawi relied on aid to finance about 40% of its budget and has now been forced to cut spending. This includes trimming the cabinet to 20 from 36, which will save almost $40 million over the next 5 years.
I think they will expect us to do a lot of things that will obviate the possibility of Cashgate taking place again, and to restore the fiscal discipline that is needed. Once that is done, I think they'll come back. Not only the IMF, but a number of donors are likely to come back when we do achieve that.
Malawi is Africa's top exporter of burley tobacco, a low-grade variety of the crop, and accounts for 5% of the world's total tobacco exports. Agriculture is a key driver of the country's $3.7 billion economy, accounting for 30% of GDP and employing 90% of the population. Yet more than half of its 15 million people live on less than $1 a day, according to the IMF.
A lot of people are really worried about the economic direction the country is taking, and that many people, I think about 3/4 of the Malawi public, tell us that the economy is going in the wrong direction.
As Malawi tries to wean itself off donor funding, growth targets remain high, averaging 7.5% over the next 5 years. Through its economic recovery plan, the country has built its foreign exchange reserves and also offers better incentives for producers of export commodities, which have boosted the economy. But inflation, currency volatility and growing government debt remain a burden.
Malawi has just celebrated 50 years of independence. 50 years on, are you content with the progress, and what is your vision going forward?
Well, yes, I am. I think we've made some progress. Of course, there have been some challenges during those 50 years. We're looking forward ahead to develop the country more, especially make sure that people have money in their pockets. That's the bottom line, that life gets better for the average person.
Do you think that we could see more progress coming to the fore over the next 10 years? I know that you have a target to see 7.5% growth down the line. That could possibly help eradicate poverty.
It could, and I think it can be done. It's not about 6.3% or 6.1%. One time we had 7% growth for almost 5 years before, and I think with proper management and proper exports, goods and manufacturing expansion of the economy, we can reach that target.
Well, let's take a look at what you believe, Mr. President, are going to be the main drivers of the economy. Of course, there's a massive focus on the likes of tobacco, and we know that there is a drive to diversify.
Yes, tobacco is, of course, the mainstay, but as you know, the tobacco market is very uncertain. So we're looking into, in fact, diversifying. We're going to look into other crops, for example, legumes, pigeon peas, cowpeas, which have a tremendous market, especially in Asia, India, Japan, and China. So we'll be expanding that as part of our green belt projects through irrigation. We'd also like to move into mining as one area which has potentials, and of course the tourist industry.
With regards to the sectors of the economy that you'll be focusing on, tourism is a big one, and Mr. President, you alluded to this as well. Of course, you're in a region in Africa that is really beautiful, so you've got a lot of countries surrounding Malawi that are also really beautiful. How do you plan to get a piece of that tourism pie?
Yes, I think first of all we have to make sure that we promote Malawi. Malawi has the third largest freshwater lake in the world and the 8th largest lake in the world. It is a species of over 4,000 fish, more than any other lake in the world. And it's freshwater lake, so, and it's beautiful, of course. We can promote that, but we need to invest in the lake. We need to invest in water sports, in hotels, and those kinds of things. And we need to show the world that it's better to go to Lake Malawi than other lakes in Africa.
The Millennium Development Goals, a lot of them, well, half of them will not be reached, poverty being one of them. How do you feel about this? Is this something that is worrying you extensively, where you know that a lot of resources need to be pumped into eradicating poverty in the country?
Absolutely. Extreme poverty, that's one of the goals. We'll not be able to do it. Eradication of extreme poverty. We'll not be able to do it. But yes, it worries me, as I said at the beginning, that I'll be happy the day somebody has more money in their pocket than they have now. I'll be happy. And I'm hoping that at the end of their first term, people will say they're better off in May, April 2019 than they were in May 2014. That will mean that we have done something. As I said, the bottom line is the average person. So yes, it does bother me to see people who have no houses, or poor houses, or people who have no food, or clothes, or who are unable to send their children to school. Yes, it does bother me a lot. And we are doing all we can to address those problems.
And how's the cutting of aid actually affected this already devastating situation?
Well, yes, obviously it has affected us in the sense that we're not able to do certain things. A good example is the health sector, as that you may have read in the papers, that there was a time when there was no medicine. There was a time in the mortuary when the bodies were lying around because we couldn't afford to get to pay for cold storage or for electricity. Those kinds of things. Indeed, it was affecting the country in all sorts of sectors, especially in the health and other social sectors. Yes.
After the break, President Mutharika discusses the impact of the Cashgate scandal.
So we've passed a budget, but with a deficit of 40%, which comes about $75 million US, which for us is a lot of money. For a small economy like ours, it's a lot of money. We have to find a way to fill that gap.
"50 years post-independence, more than half of the country lives below the poverty line of less than $1 a day. And with inflation pushing the cost of living even higher, reaching an all-time high of almost 40% in February 2013, President Mutharika has a tough job on his hands, eradicating poverty while rooting out the legacy of corruption. Last year, President Mutharika's Democratic Progressive Party won the country's disputed presidential elections amid allegations of vote rigging and fraud by his rivals. And barely 8 months into his term, the government is under the spotlight again, this time for hefty pay rises within cabinet. The country is still trying to regain donor confidence after the Cashgate scandal, which saw donors withdraw the much-needed assistance from the country.
We've done a lot since we came. We are a new government, but even within that time, we've done a lot. We have fixed, I think, the problems that IFMIS brought into the country. We fixed that, and we have come out with a program that, if we follow, should be able to restore our fiscal discipline. We are working intensively with the donors, the development partners. to ensure that, in fact, if Cashgate does not occur again.
The Cashgate scandal derailed former President Joyce Banda's odds of retaining the presidency after she alienated key allies by firing her cabinet. She also asked international investigators to probe allegations that as much as 30% of state funds were being pilfered, battling to convince the electorate that her administration wasn't complicit in the scandal.
I was advised that 7 months before elections was too short for me to tackle corruption. Because the people that are benefiting from it, they will fight you back. They will smear it onto you. They will bring you down. You may never get up. I said, yes, I don't have a choice. I have to choose my people. I have to choose Malawians.
President Mutharika and Banda both served in the cabinet of the president's older brother, Binguwa Mutharika, who drew international criticism following a violent crackdown against opponents prior to his death in office in April 2012. Banda assumed the presidency following his death despite being expelled from the party in 2011 when she refused to endorse Peter Mutharika as the vice president candidate for the 2014 election. She subsequently created the People's Party. After the 2014 vote, Banda called for re-election, citing rampant irregularities. She also didn't attend President Mutharika's inauguration.
I still invite her to join me in developing this country. I come to her with an olive branch in my hand. Don't let it drop from my hand. Cashgate, whereby a syndicate of selfish civil servants, selfish politicians, and members of the private sector go together to steal money from the government. You know the consequence of that, we lost support from the donors. So it's a challenge. I can't give you the exact time frame, but I can say that by the end of the first year, I think we should begin to see some changes. And I think we should begin to see real growth. I think certain changes in the economy.
You mentioned aid. I know, Mr. President, you're saying you don't know when, hopefully soon. How important is it for the survival of Malawi down the line?
Well, I can't say when. I think it's important to the extent that about 32% of our budget for the current expenditure depends on donor support. Last few years, it went up to about 40%. So we've passed a budget, but with a deficit of 40%, which comes about $75 million US, which for us is a lot of money. For a small economy like ours, it's a lot of money. We have to find a way to fill that gap, either through, obviously better collection, tax collection, and perhaps there'll be other means, other infusions of capital.
Yeah. In terms of filling the gap, we know that you, as you mentioned, Mr. President, you're working with the International Monetary Fund. Are we going to see assistance coming through from the IMF?
I hope so. We have the extended credit facility. We'll be negotiating a new one, and we hope we'll be successful. And we hope some of the things I've asked us, I think exchange stability is there, and macroeconomic management are there, problem management. We've done all those things that the IMF requires, and we hope that they will certainly will sign the agreement and they will continue. And some resources will come in.
Mr. President, you alluded to the Cashgate scandal and the fact that there is a massive crackdown on corruption. Do you feel that it's happening fast enough?
I think it is. It's very difficult to do these things. First of all, in terms of the suspects of the Cashgate, some of them are mere suspects, and therefore they must go through the due process of the law. It's my duty to make sure that they are treated fairly. We don't want any kind of persecution. We want them prosecuted, but within the law. So we need proper evidence before the courts, and we're doing that. I've appointed a new public prosecutor, a new director of public prosecutions. I've appointed a new we're changing the leadership at the Anti-Corruption Bureau. We have increased the budget of the Anti-Corruption Bureau by, I think, 146%. So we have given the resources. So we are doing, and I think they are in a position to continue with the prosecutions of those who were involved in the Cashgate.
Do you know when this is going to be wrapped up? Obviously, as you mentioned, lots of resources allocated. It should be speedy.
I don't know. It's in the hands of prosecutors. You see, I don't interfere. I cannot discuss the cases with the prosecutors. They are independent. But I think the expectation by us and everybody in Malawi and our friends is that this should be expedited, that it should be done as soon as possible without rushing them, make sure that people's rights are not infringed upon.
Mr. President, do you think that some of the money will be recouped? Is there a hope?
I would hope so. I would hope so. The money must be somewhere. We don't know where it is, whether it's in Malawi or outside. We would hope that in addition to normal punishment, criminal sanctions, that there will be a recovery of the money, either in form of liquid assets, actual cash, if it's kept somewhere, or in terms of properties that were bought. Some people may have bought houses, some people may have bought vehicles, and what have you. We hope that if we can make the connection and establish that these items were actually bought by cash-gate money, then we'll certainly try to recover them.
After the break, Peter Mutharika talks about Africa's potential.
While the return rate in the rest of the world of investment is 8%, in Africa is 33%. So there's money to be made, and there's security now, investment security.
Peter Mutharika's political life began in 2009 when he was elected to the Malawian parliament. He was appointed by his brother, former President Bingu wa Mutharika, as Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. He then served as the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, and in 2011 became the Minister of Foreign Affairs. In 2012, he was cleared of treason charges after an alleged coup attempt in Malawi. As president, Mutharika is now looking at ways to increase investment into the country and is confident about Africa's potential as an economic giant.
I think investors are very excited about Africa, beginning with the U.S. African leadership meeting, which I'm sure you know about, the summit in early August. I think there was a change of attitude there. I think there was a perception, beginning from President Obama himself, that Africa is no longer a burden but an opportunity. And I think that's a message we are carrying across to private investors, that Africa is no longer a burden, it's an opportunity. There's money to be made in Africa. In fact, actually, while the return rate in the rest of the world of investment is 8%, in Africa is 33%. So there's money to be made, and there's security now, investment security, both physically and also commercially. So the message is there, and I think the investors are ready to come. You're right that Africa is now the place to be, and we hope a lot of investors from all different parts of the world, from all regions, will come to invest in Malawi and in Africa also.
It seems that since the financial crisis, the perceptions of risks have changed, and it seems that people were after yield and not really focusing on the political environment. Now everything has shifted completely.
Africa is more stable. As I said, it's a good market. It's a good investment for people for their money. They'll get their money, their profits. So they're prepared to go there. But also in almost every African country now, we have institutions that are predictable. Institutions in terms of, for example, if there is a dispute, most of the African countries are parties to the World Bank Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, or Paris Court of Arbitration, or some of the regional bodies. And the legal systems also, I think, very sound, so that they know if there is a dispute somewhere, it will be properly dealt with. And that's one of the things that investors are concerned about, whether to be fairly treated if they feel that their rights have been infringed upon. And I think we have that. And I think that's what gives security to investors now.
Mr. President, tell me about growing up in Malawi.
Oh, yes. My father was a teacher in the Church of Scotland and also an elder. My mother taught Sunday school. We all went, my sisters and my brother, we went to church schools until secondary school. I went overseas and studied in East Africa, UK, and here, United States. And when I finished, I wasn't able to go back to Malawi. So I went to teach at University of Dar es Salaam, at the law school there, and also I taught at Makerere University in Uganda, and then Harrison University in Addis Ababa, then Rutgers University here, and Washington University, and then London School of Economics. So I've been involved in about 7 universities directly on 3 continents. And then I went back to Malawi to assist my brother when, during the time there was impeachment. I went to assist some of the legal things needed to be done for only 1 year. And I was persuaded by people. It took me 8 months before I agreed to stand for parliament. I wasn't that interested, but I just received an endowed, probably the most senior professorship in the United States. One was senior. I didn't have a chance to enjoy it. But then I agreed to run for parliament, and then after that I became a minister, justice, then education, then foreign affairs. And the president died, and after the president died, I was arrested, as you know, charged with treason, and then we had the cases going on. I was going to court and campaigning at the same time. The case was not withdrawn. Now it has been withdrawn, but we were going to court in the morning, and in the afternoon we go on the campaign trail and come back, and then we won the election. So it's quite an interesting story.
A very busy, interesting story. Did you get a lot of inspiration from your father as well?
Yes, I did. I did. My father was a very disciplined man, and I think I got inspiration from him. Yeah.
And growing.
And he always said that one of the children will one day lead Malawi. So both of us have done that. We thank God and my father for that.
What was the one thing when you were younger that you realized that that is what you wanted to do? Was it something that you thought about as a young person, that you wanted to, serve the country?
No, actually, when I was young, I wanted to go in the ministry. I wanted to be a preacher. And then after that, I changed my mind. I wanted to go in the army. And then after that, I changed my mind and decided to go to medical school. And after doing biology, I didn't like to see blood. Doing biology, those experiments, so I decided to go to law school. So I went to law school by accident, but I intended to be a medical professional. But I ended up studying law. Very
diverse story and very diverse man. Mr. President, lastly, what were some of the successes and failures, in your lifetime where, even just in the ministries and working through various, professions, as you've alluded to, have shaped you to the leader that you are today? Is there anything that really sticks out for you that, in terms of lessons learned?
I've been lucky that I was blessed by God that I managed to do well whatever I try to do. It's a matter of opinion. I think there was a strike at the university for 8 months, and some people say that was a failure because of the strike. But at the point, the ministry does not run universities. Universities are run by the council, university council. And when I discovered that, probably the strike was being manipulated by politicians, so we didn't go into that. But that has been used against me. But other than that, I really, so far, I can think of any major failure, and I hope it will continue that way.